2 years and 7 months. Neo had traced the number 31 repeatedly into the fine red dust outside his modest Gaborone home, the precise number of months since Lissetti had first left for the mining scholarships abroad. The first 25 months were fueled by hope, but the final 6, the months since her graduation and sudden, prolonged silence, were fueled by something colder: meticulous planning. He sat beneath the shade of a marula tree, his worn leather jacket a stark contrast to the shimmering heat. The only evidence of his work was the faint hum of his cheap laptop, usually hidden beneath a stack of outdated newspapers. He had told Lissetti he was seeking employment in architectural conservation, a field notoriously difficult to break into. The truth was, he already had the most dangerous job in Botswana. Tomorrow, Lissetti was due back. He knew, from a source far more reliable than her infrequent, generic emails, that she was returning with a different kind of ambition, one that would require more security than a conservationist could ever offer. Her final message, 6 months ago, had been dismissive, hinting at a new, high-powered circle. Neo simply nodded to himself, confirming his long-held suspicion that her loyalty was directly proportional to her perceived potential. He had engineered this scenario. He had maintained the illusion of stagnation, the image of a man whose dreams had dried up like the seasonal riverbeds. The real objective was close, lying not in securing a job, but in dismantling an empire. He stood up, wiping the dust from his hands. The game was about to begin, and Lissetti was the pawn he needed to deliver the checkmate.
The air at Sir Seretse International Airport was thick with the scent of jet fuel and dry earth when Lissetti strode through the arrival gates. She looked different. Her tailored safari dress and the expensive watch flashing on her wrist screamed success, a success that now seemed utterly incompatible with Neo's patient, waiting figure. He offered a genuine, if quiet, smile. She returned a look that was polite, yet instantly chilly. The warmth that had sustained him for over 1,000 days was gone, replaced by a calculating reserve. They drove in silence in his borrowed, slightly battered bakkie, the familiar streets of Gaborone rushing past like forgotten memories. "So, Neo," she finally said, her voice clipped. "Still looking for a placement?" The way she pronounced looking made it sound like a terminal illness. He paused, steering around a slow-moving donkey cart. "Still pursuing the right project, Lissetti. The work that matters takes time." She scoffed, a quick, unpleasant sound. "Time? Time doesn't pay for the right address or the right contacts." 6 months ago, before the radio silence, she had promised they would build a life together, starting small. Now that promise felt like cheap wood splintering under pressure. Neo felt a faint, cold satisfaction. The bait was set, he just needed to wait for her to swallow it, hook, line, and sinker. Her new persona was aggressive and impatient, exactly what his contacts had predicted. He knew this conversation would end badly, and that was precisely what he required to advance his true mission.
The confrontation occurred in the tiny kitchen, under the single flickering fluorescent bulb. Neo was making tea. Lissetti was scrolling through her phone, barely looking up. "Neo, we need to talk. Honestly," she began, the tone rehearsed. He set down the kettle and gave her his full attention, though his mind was already 2 steps ahead. "I met someone who understands scale." She paused, expecting a reaction, anger or despair. But Neo remained impassive, sipping his tea. "His name is Tariq. He's an entrepreneur, property development, luxury tourism. He's building things, real, tangible things, all over the Okavango Delta." The name Tariq Maseko was not unfamiliar to Neo. In fact, it was the name that had dominated his secret research for the last 18 months. Tariq was the final piece of the puzzle, the man whose supposed wealth was rumored to be built on sand, or worse, on protected natural heritage. He sounds successful, Neo replied, keeping his voice level. Lesadi's eyes narrowed, frustrated by his lack of jealousy. He is. He offered me a position, head of community relations, starting immediately. And a place to live, of course. Something with actual security. She leaned in, her gaze hardening. I need a life that moves forward, Neo, not one that waits for a dream that never materializes. She was making the choice easy for him, discarding 2 years and 7 months of history for a 6-month flash of perceived stability. Lesedi was ready for a shouting match, for tears, for the dramatic collapse of the man who had supposedly dedicated years to her memory. What she received was a calm, almost surgical agreement. I understand, Lesedi, you need security, not potential. Neo repeated her words verbatim, giving them a sharp, hidden edge. He placed the empty mug in the sink. Then you should go. Take the job and the life Tariq offers. Lesedi blinked, momentarily thrown off her script. That's all you have to say? After everything? She demanded. A strange mix of relief and fury in her voice. The fury stemmed from the fact that his lack of protest made her feel less like a conflicted heroine and more like a calculating opportunist. Neo turned back to her, and for the first time since she returned, his eyes held a depth she couldn't interpret. I waited for a woman who valued something other than immediate comfort. That woman, I believe, is no longer standing in my kitchen. Take your new life, Lesedi. I wish you well. He didn't sound bitter, only definitive. This swift, clean break was the final phase of his self-imposed isolation. He needed her inside Tariq's world, a move that only a publicly humiliated, jobless ex-boyfriend would permit. That night, she packed a single suitcase and left. As the taxi pulled away, Neo opened his laptop, the dim screen illuminating a complex financial model detailing Tariq Maseko's questionable land acquisitions. The lading was over. The hunting had begun.
Lesedi was nothing if not efficient in her transition. Within 48 hours, her social media feeds exploded with geotagged photos, champagne flutes clinking against a sunset backdrop, Tariq's hand resting proprietarily on her shoulder, and the first glimpse of the Tusk, Tariq's ridiculously extravagant estate on the outskirts of the Central Kalahari Game Reserve. The messaging was clear. She had traded up. Neo scrolled past the posts with the detached air of a paleontologist examining a fossil. Her flaunting served his purpose perfectly. It solidified his image as the rejected nobody. Meanwhile, Neo started his new routine. To the outside world, he was still the jobless dreamer, but his days were spent in the dusty, quiet reading room of the National Archives in Gaborone. He wasn't applying for jobs. He was meticulously cross-referencing land registries, old aerial photographs, and environmental impact assessments. He was tracking Tariq's paper trail back 5 years, searching for the crack in the facade. His actual project was a confidential investigation for a shadowy, conservation-focused NGO, Bontling, the Beauty, dedicated to preserving national heritage from powerful, corrupt developers. His joblessness was the most crucial part of his cover. No one looks twice at a struggling academic in a library. Tariq, in his arrogance, would dismiss him as a failed suitor, not a threat. Neo found an old survey map detailing a protected wetland, a wetland that, according to Lesedi's social media, now hosted Tariq's Olympic-sized infinity pool. The digital evidence was solid, but the physical proof, the ledger, the final signature, remained locked away inside the Tusk.
Tariq Maseko was many things, but a man who ignored loose ends was not one of them. 2 weeks after Lesedi moved in, Neo received a call from an unlisted number. The voice on the other end was smooth, predatory, and undeniably Tariq's. Neo, is it? Tariq Maseko, just checking in on Lesedi's old flame. The implied ownership was meant to sting. She seems relieved to be moving forward. Neo paused, letting the silence stretch. He was sitting in a public park, watching children play, but his grip on his phone was tight. She made a choice, Tariq. I respect that. Security is a powerful motivator. Tariq laughed, a short, patronizing bark. Good, because I wouldn't want you to be a distraction. People who get in my way, Neo, tend to find that the opportunities they were looking for suddenly vanish. Permanently. The threat was clear, yet clumsy. Neo smiled faintly. I appreciate the warning, Tariq, but I'm not really looking for opportunities right now. I'm looking for truth. Different type of work, you see. He hung up before Tariq could respond, relishing the slight hitch of confusion he'd heard in the mogul's voice. A typical bully, Tariq needed to feel in control. Neo had just proved he wasn't. This small, calculated act of defiance was essential. Tariq would now focus on trying to discredit Neo publicly, rather than investigating the threat. A mistake Neo was counting on. Tariq would be watching the news channels, while Neo was studying the blueprints. Neo's days grew more intense. He traded the archives for the dusty local land surveyor's office, befriending an elderly cartographer who still used paper maps. Neo focused his attention on the design and construction of the Tusk. Tariq's estate, positioned dramatically overlooking the protected area, was not merely opulent, it was structurally suspicious. Neo's conservation background allowed him to spot the anomaly. The Tusk was built not on traditional, shallow foundations, but on a massive, reinforced concrete platform that sunk suspiciously deep into the earth. This wasn't standard construction, it was concealment. He hypothesized that the platform served two purposes. One, to stabilize the structure on the unstable wetland, and two, to hide something underneath. A bunker, perhaps, or a chamber built to store high-value, high-risk items. Given the location's proximity to wildlife corridors, Neo suspected Tariq's fortune was not solely based on clean property development. He downloaded original geological surveys that clearly indicated the area was prone to flooding and should not bear a weight of that magnitude. He drafted a technical report for Bonlang, documenting the illegal environmental bypasses and the suspicious subterranean structure. He knew he was close to exposing not just a greedy developer, but a systemic operation that used luxury tourism as a front. The blueprint was now complete. He just needed Lesedi, the unwitting insider, to open the final subterranean door. It was Lesedi who reached out next, 2 weeks later. Her tone had shifted from haughty contempt to a slightly strained casualness. I just wanted to check on you, Neo. You left so quickly. I have a few boxes of books still at your place. The books were an obvious excuse. She was fishing for emotional damage, hoping to reassure herself that she had made the powerful choice and he was languishing. Neo's heart, however, remained a cold, steady machine. He knew Tariq was likely monitoring her calls. The boxes are ready. You can collect them anytime, he said flatly. Oh, she faltered slightly. I thought maybe we could catch up? Tariq is incredibly busy. It's hard to settle in. Neo's internal alarm bells went off. She was already lonely, already finding the gilded cage restrictive. Excellent. I'm busy too, Lesedi. The conservation project is finally moving forward. I'm needed in the field this week. A calculated lie, yet technically true, as his field was the treacherous terrain of Tariq's financial records. She tried one last probe. You should see the Tusk, Neo. It's unreal. The luxury is... Unreal? I'm sure it is, he interrupted, his voice void of admiration. Just tell me when you want the books. He hung up quickly, leaving her with the distinct impression that he was thriving and indifferent. This detached confidence was key. It stripped her of the pity she sought and planted the first seed of doubt about her upgrade.
The Tusk estate was an architectural offense against the subtle organic beauty of the surrounding wilderness. It was a fortress of mirrored glass, imported Italian marble, and exposed steel beams, glaringly modern against the Mopane woodlands. It boasted a private airstrip, a 9-hole golf course, irrigated by a system that drew illegally from the nearby river, and the aforementioned infinity pool that looked suspiciously like a protected pan. Neo had driven near the estate, posing as a freelance wildlife photographer. The sheer scale was breathtaking, but in a vulgar, unsettling way. The locals in the nearest village spoke of Tarek with a grudging respect mingled with fear. They saw him as the quick money man, bringing intermittent, low-paying labor, but also fencing off huge tracts of land and disrupting traditional cattle routes. The estate was guarded by armed private security contractors who patrolled the perimeter with almost military precision. Neo noted the placement of every camera, every access point, and the shift change patterns of the guards. His final objective was the subterranean structure, and that meant getting past the layers of defense. He drove away, his camera filled not with images of wildlife, but with precise geo-coded photographs of the estate's vulnerable points. The Tusk was not a home, it was a vault, and Neo was determined to crack it wide open.
Neo met his key contact, Mumabfato, deep within the University of Botswana's library. Mumabfato, a revered historian and environmental activist, was the co-founder of Botlang. She had been the first to flag Tarek's suspicious land activity years ago. They spoke in hushed Setswana, exchanging documents over lukewarm coffee. "The whole Tusk project," Mumabfato whispered, tapping a brittle map. "It sits on the ancient route, the one we fought to protect from all development." She provided the critical piece of documentation, a signed, pre-Tarek era decree designating the exact coordinates of the Tusk as a site of national historical and ecological significance, making all subsequent building permits null and void. "This is the legal key, Mumabfato," Neo confirmed, carefully folding the copy. "It confirms the illegal status of the entire property. But we need the practical key, the source of the money." Mumabfato hesitated, her face grave. "The rumors, Neo, are worse than construction fraud. They whisper of the ivory trade. Tarek's real estate development is a sophisticated cover for a transit hub